in the right place. Okay, so, all right, to recap, before I get into Infogram itself, just my sense of the difference between, what infographic is, the difference between an infographic and just a data visualization. So in my field, for instance, in political science or in economics, in the social sciences, this would be a data visualization, right? It's just a graph, right? And then it can be open to interpretation, and you could ask students, well, what's going on in here? What does this mean? Okay. An infographic, however, is you could take that kind of data that's in the graph right here, and you could send a message with it, provide editorial commentary, and take something like this and you could turn it into a meme. All right, something that something that you wish to transmit to people outside of beyond the trend that's documented here. So in infographics, a little more powerful. So a great place to go, and where there's wonderful infographics, just to get a sense if you wanted to use them as a model. And again, before we get into Infogram, I would just like to emphasize, more about what infographics do. Is I'm going to show you something that I take a lot of advantage of, and I have students search through, that's in our own libraries, academic databases. And so I like going to Statista. And I know, Paul, you like it. I get things from you occasionally from here. And I'll have students go through here, and they can explore all sorts of infographics, and they can get a sense of how you can take data visualizations like graphs or tables or charts that might be rather cold looking and are appropriate in scholarly journals, in the Wall Street Journal or Boston Globe, in a newspaper or in a magazine, when they're in a context of a written article or manuscript. But if you just want to have the punch of the actual graphic representation of data, then surrounding it with a message and some editorial and commentary, can be very useful without anyone having to read, a whole article or publication or manuscript. So Statista has a lot of great examples of what's going on. There's also, you can type anything you're interested in, you can find it in Statista. You will find infographics on it. So let's just click on one of the latest topics, so coronavirus. Okay, so the US state with the highest number of COVID cases. All right. So we can go here. Total number of coronavirus cases in the United States as of October 2016. Okay, we can you can look up anything you want. So I put in something about human rights. How important is it for Romania's democracy that the rights of minority groups are protected? So there's not like a lot of editorial there, but you could take something, students could use this and they can embellish or add something to it, okay? But like putting the question up there, the graph is not strictly about the question, but the question is there to sort of highlight things for the reader, you know, make it very easy to try and interpret. There's no article here, but it makes it easy to discuss what's going on. So Statista has a lot, and if you click on things like actual infographics, now what you're getting is you're getting some commentary here. COVID-19 decimates the UK arts sector, right? Year on year, and you see how they add like a little theater mask, a little British flag. Right now, it gets a little more interesting. It might be a little more provocative, more stimulating. There's tons of these in Statista. Carbon emissions. Right, and now you've got like a little smokestack here. Okay, like your normal graphs, tables, or charts that might be in newspapers, magazines, or scholarly journals aren't going to have these types of things. In fact, those editor, you know, an editor in a scholarly journal would say, yeah, we please take out the smokestack, the smoke, and all that sort of thing as well. All right, but right here, this is a nice example. So you can make these things using something like Infogram. Right, and really, you know, beef up any representation. So since I deal a lot with quantitative data and analysis, the kind of infographics that I'm inclined to work on or have my students create are ones that involve numbers, but they don't have to involve numbers. Okay, so here's so this was the unemployment rate. Okay. All right, so it may be interesting, and that is just a graph. All right, now, here's something that I did using Infogram, and we'll take you over there and have you work with it as well. So now I can turn it into campaign material. Now, I just made this in a matter of, I took the raw data that were in here, except I annualized it. This is all quarterly, so you don't have a lot of these little bumps. So I just took like an annual for each year. So you see it says 2010, 12, 14, 16, 18, obviously the pandemic's there, but right, this doesn't point that out at all. Right, an infographic might want to say, you know, COVID-19. Right. Okay, so I made this up. All right, and so this might irritate some of you, right? Because it's a good Trump campaign material, and so it's the way. Let me see if I can make this a little larger here. So this is an infographic I created that's designed. The size of it, and we'll get into how to make these. But again, the size of it is designed to fit nicely into a social media post on Facebook or Twitter. Okay, so this was a matter, this took me, I did this yesterday, and I think it took me about maybe 45 minutes. All right, so I took the numbers, I annualized it, and so fastest decline in unemployment ever. Right. Well, that's a matter of interpretation, but that's what an infographic does, is it provides editorial commentary, right? It's designed to signal to the viewer or the reader, this is the message you should take away from it. I'm not really interested in you trying to interpret the graph. I'm going to provide some interpretation for you, right? And I put little arrows in here like, you know, MAGA baby, all right? Lowest of all time since it's been recorded. You could do other things. This is, again, here's a graph on middle income, on middle class income. It's the median household income in the United States. All right. I don't need to explain all that. I'm trying to give messages here. And you see what I did is I put Democrats 2013, Democrats 2014, Democrats 20. That's not the way you would normally, you know, create, you know, graphs in a for publication, all right, in some kind of reputable journal, and then I put Trump, 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 right? So this is like, so campaign material can make use of infographics. You'll see it all the time, you know, vote no on question, you know, question 3 in New Hampshire, you know, and you know, something like that. So that's the difference between an infographic and just what we would call our normal data visualization. Now, it doesn't have to be used for campaign material, but I'm just having fun with this in an election year. And I'm teaching a class called Campaigns, Elections, and the Policy Process. And I'm going to try and have students combine being analytical and using quantitative analysis, but use it to try and create a meme, you know, that you could share and send a message. I'm not going to actually have them post those things on Facebook or in Twitter, but they could do that. Here's another. So this is on the ballot in Massachusetts. It's called ranked choice voting. It's a way to choose candidates. All right, so this is just a representation of how you do ranked choice voting. And since this is not a class in political science, I'm not going to explain to you what ranked choice voting is. All right, so this is what a ranked choice ballot looks like. So that's useful information. So I took that and I went into Infogram and I created something like this. This is an infographic, a full-sized infographic, not made for social media. You can create posters from it. You could share it. I mean, you could put it on social media, but this is something you could put on a website. You could put in, you know, in lots of places. So I created this, and it says, vote for ranked choice voting, yes on question 2. And so I simulated a ballot here, and I have this little heart emoji. I have this head emoji, and maybe you'll be able to tell what I'm talking about when I'm doing this. So I'm trying to explain that ranked choice voting, you get to follow your heart first. If your first choice is not in the top 2 for first ranked votes, your lower ranked choice is added to the totals of the top 2. Follow your heart first, then think with your head. You can vote for a third party without throwing your vote away. And I have a little garbage can there. Well, I had a little heart here and a head here too. I don't know what happened to those. Okay. You can stick to your principles and be practical. Now, I'm not saying, I worked on this. This was a matter of half hour. I'm not, if I were to be doing some consulting, I would have worked a lot harder on this and made it look a little better. So I'm taking some information that's out there, right? And the idea here is that with ranked choice voting, you know, you can put your first choice, you can vote with your heart. That is, where do your passions take you? If if you normally feel like you're throwing away your vote on a third party, ranked choice voting allows you, let's say the Democratic candidate is the lesser evil relative to the Republican candidate, but you really love the Green Party. Ranked choice voting allows you to put that down as your first choice. You can put the Democrat down as your second choice. The top two who get the greatest number of the top 2 in getting the first ranked votes will then get your second preference. So that's what I'm trying to explain down here. You follow your heart first. If your first choice is not in the top 2 for first ranked votes, then your lower ranked choice is added to the totals of the top 2. So again, that's an infographic. All right. So you could probably think of a lot of applications in which you could do this in your classes. It doesn't matter what it is that you teach. You can develop infographics to take things to take whatever it is you're having your students learn, and you could have them create these kind of infographics to try and highlight why anything is important or significant to them. Right. So I guess you could say it's like a picture's worth 1,000 words. That's what, you know, infographics do. So if you go to infographic, I have it, if you go back to the chat, and if you've signed in, all right, so I'm going to go to, go to Infogram, all right, and you log in. Now I just log in with my Google. And you can all do this too, if you want. And what's really great about Infogram is it makes it really easy to get started, okay? So these are little projects that I have. And for you, you might have a different screen to go to because you won't have any projects. So what might be featured for you are all the types of projects you can do. So let's say you want to make, you can make a post for social media, but let's go to infographics right here. All right. You can click on this and you could start blank, a blank template, or you can choose anything that is here. Some of them, so what I should say is that I have the free account, the free version. There is a premium version you can get. The free version is very powerful and it allows you to do a lot. Some of the main differences between the free and the premium version is that the premium version might give you more access to more of these options that are here. And the premium version also allows you to download your products. But as you'll see, you don't need to download anything. You can just keep everything online. And a free version also allows you to keep things private as well. So if that were important that you wanted to keep things private, like certain works in progress, that would be fine. So you can start with any kind. So if we just take something here, this is not my kind of thing.
Frank, I have a question.
Yeah.
When you said about downloading them, like if I want to insert one into a presentation, would I still be able to do that with the free version?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Real easy. It comes. So everything that I have here on this Padlet, and I am going to teach everyone just this one little additional application because it's a great way. So let's say you have all your students post an infographic. Let's say you want them to do something on, I've got to take something outside of my field. It's so hard to do. Well, let's say it's something in literature, but I'll have it overlap with political science. It's on George Orwell's 1984. All right. And you want them to come up with infographics on what it's like to live in Oceania. All right. And then what everyone can do is they can come up with their infographics, explain something in them, what it's like to be Winston Smith or something like, something like that. The number of times that, Big Brother appears. I don't know. I'm just talking off the top of my head here. And so let's say you have a whole project here on George Orwell's 1984. You can use Padlet, this thing that I have here, and you could call this whatever you want. Now I just call this put your infographics here because it's for you, for all of you. And so, yeah, Leslie, so this is all infograms. This is the free version. And when you click on them, you get the whole thing. And people can look at them. I'm not saying you have to do this with the class. You might want a student to turn them into you individually and you don't want them to post on these things. I only did this Padlet because it's one way in which you could have students do infographics and have them look at each other's material. And you can come up with great collages for whatever your theme is. I mean, it could be medieval Europe in a history class. It could be just, anything, biology, chemistry. It doesn't really matter what the field is. Infographics are great ways to, quote, write visually about what it is that you're thinking about or learning about. I'm going to stop for a minute and just ask for other questions.
Frank, so do you have students write like a little essay or some kind of an explanation, or is it more about them constructing a visual?
I have not done a lot of science with infograms. What I did was the last time I taught campaigns, elections, and public policy is that I had students focus on a swing district, you know, one that could go either Democratic or Republican. And I told them to take some piece of polling data on that research and then create create campaign material for either candidate. Okay. And so, for instance, they're like, this candidate gets contributions from these evil people. And look how much they get from these evil people. And look how much they get from these good people. Stuff like that. So they wouldn't have to write an essay on it. The rubric would have been based on, you know, how effective they are able to convey campaign material, that is propaganda, using actual data. But you could have them write something around it as well. I mean, it's up to you. I'm just looking through the chat here. How historical are Statista and the other databases? Melinda, I'm not sure. Oh, you mean like how much do they cover history?
Yeah, how far do they go back? Because lots of times I go for things and it's like only the last 10 years or something.
I don't know how far they go back, but they definitely cover historical topics. I'm not sure how far they go back. That's something. It's something worth exploring, though. I love Statista. I use it a lot in classes, so I think it's great. Yeah, you have to upgrade to download these file types. Yeah, you do have to do that. Now, there are ways in which you could sort of cheat. It won't be as interactive. So, I mean, what you could do is you could do like screenshots, and then you could download them. You know, so there's ways to work around that. All right, so if we so let's just take this one. I forgot what it was. We'll just say, you know, see, private, you have to upgrade. All right, so here you go. They already, right, this is all nonsense. It's not Latin. It's just very, so you could take this, you're like, well, I don't need all this kind of stuff, but it might give you an idea for the kind of infographic that you want to create. So maybe for like a business class, something in management, maybe this is something that students might do and they get some ideas from this, but they might want to take out some of these elements. And you could do that. You could take out elements. All right, and you could put in new elements, you could put in timelines, notes, image blocks, and you could do everything. So these templates can get you started. And really what you have to do is you learn it by playing around with it. And that's the best way to learn how to do this stuff. So I'm just going to show you like the basic mechanics of how Infogram works by just using a blank template, because that's how I made those infographics that you just saw. All right, let me go back here. Let me go back to my projects. So, see, this will stay. This is already in my project. Oh, I forgot all about this. Oh, this was something I had fun with when we had Renee Hobbs here. She said, make an infographic about like your career or something like that. And so I made this up. Yeah, that could be an interesting exercise with students. And I was very immodest, as you can see, in my advertisement of myself. All right.
So Frank, can you, if you were going to reopen that, can you just show us what it, like, I saw that it said click share. Like, what are your choices if you try and share it?
All right. Yeah. So,
Because I think that's the really thing that people are really curious about right now, looking in the chat, is how, like, it's wonderful to be able to create these things, but the question is how you would use them.
yeah. So the one that I posted on Padlet, okay, this is the one I made here. And I'm going to show you like how you do these graphs. So what's great about this is students, faculty, if you were to have graphs, you don't have to know anything about making graphs. You don't have to know how to work Excel or SPSS or anything else. This is very user friendly. So the way you would share it is you can have it go right to Facebook. You can view it online. You can copy this. And this is a link that you can use. And so if I put the link in here, there you go. You can share it. You can share it to Facebook. You can share it to Twitter. All right. And also, if you go here, you can just share it this way on Padlet. Why am I? Oh, because I already have it in here. That's why. Okay. Here, let me put the let me share this one. So you can view it. Yeah. So you can share it all sorts of ways. You can do an embed. So like if you had a web page and you put it in there, it'll show up on the web page. If you don't want it to be a link, you want people to see it. I don't know why. Oh, there it is. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. So you put it in there. There you go. And I'm not saying I'm number one teacher. You're all number one. We're all number one together. It's all equal. And then it's right there. Another thing you could do is you could take that, and if I wanted to, you can get an embed code, and you can copy and paste all that. Go here. Oh, and I see they have it for WordPress as well, but I'll go to so if I go to something like Microsoft Sway, which is something I always like. Let's see here. Why am I having? There we go. Embed. Oh, we can only support iframe. Okay, well, it's not going to support it, but Maybe if I put it in Google Sites, it'll support it. But anyhow, there's lots of ways in which you could share these materials. Okay. Let me open up a blank one so I could just show you how nimble this program is. And again, it's just a matter of getting used to it. So here's a purely blank template. Okay. Now, you can put elements in whatever you want. You could add, so you can add text. You can have a title. All right. You can do that. You can then add body text. And you could center all this stuff. You could do everything with it. So you can center everything. You could center the text object if you just want. Okay, center the object. You can center the text within the object. You can start putting in, add an element. You can start putting in time. You could put timelines in. Okay, so you could do all sorts of things. You could put these colored boxes. I mean, it gives you anything you want to put in, and you could just dump this in. All right. I could put in a chart. Right? And you're like, well, wait, you're really messing it up and you got everything all over the place. So the thing about Infogram is you can move this stuff down, around, up, anywhere you want. So you could put all your elements in and then play with them and move them around. You can take images, graphics, custom icons. I was looking for a heart for that infographic before. That didn't happen before. I did not have that come up before. Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, the arrows. You could take an arrow and put it in there, and then you can have the arrow do whatever you want. You can move the arrow around. You can shorten it. You can have it go that way. I mean, it's very easy. You could take all of these elements, and then if you want to edit something and you want to edit this graph and you're like, well, that graph doesn't have anything that I want to do, you go to the edit data and you can put whatever you want in here. And if you add another column, it'll add another column for you. It's just something that, again, there's all sorts of icons you could put in here. Some of them are not available. I don't know why the heart is not popping up. I was able to get it before and it was fine. This was not locked. Oh. So then you can also, if you want to do this, you could do settings and you could change the whole theme. And so let's say you're not crazy about this, you could change it to this. or that. Boston theme, San Francisco. So it's really, I mean, I find that it's fairly easy to use. You can shove as many elements as you want in here. You can have, you could put a little note tab in there. I mean, there's just too many things to even pictures this guy. You can replace that with your image.
So Frank, there are
Yeah.
several questions in the chat.
Okay. I'll take a look.
Why don't you take a look?
Okay. No, once you make it, you don't use it as a screenshot. You can share it with anybody. Like I showed you, I put it on that Padlet, and you could use it that way. You can embed it into a Word document if you wanted to. So there's a lot of ways in which you can use it. So no, you don't have to use it as a screenshot at all. Is there a smart way to import your data into the infogram? I think what you need to do is that if you were to, as far as importing data into the infogram, I think you would just have to plug in.
Hey, Frank,
numbers. Yeah.
can I just stop you there for a sec? So
Yeah.
if you go over to the toolbar on the far left side and click on the three dots, way over on your left, like way over, see
Yeah.
the three dots? Yeah, click that. And then right there, you see data about halfway down. You can upload an Excel sheet or link it to
Oh,
your
yeah, there we
Google,
go. Okay.
Google Docs and hook up to your Google Sheets, and it'll just suck the data right in for you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Maybe, Frank, maybe you could address Catherine's question.
Yeah.
I'm not understanding how this is any different from other graphic programs. If you see that one, that might be a good thing to address.
Other graphic, well, like versus what other graphic programs? So like, for example, which ones?
I don't know, anything. Publisher, I don't know, any program. I guess I'm not quite getting, since I can't figure out, I tried bringing some data in, I can't even figure out how to do anything with it. Can't figure out.
Well, you'd
What's-
have,
Go ahead.
I mean, I guess if you played around with it more, I mean, I'm not sure, how it compares. I think you could maybe use some of this with Microsoft Publisher. I mean, I find Microsoft Publisher sort of serves a different purpose. I mean, I've made pamphlets for political science program with Microsoft Publisher. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of programs that have powerful graphics to them. I think that the range of usefulness of this is, really restricted to the kinds of projects you can use. You can create slides, posters.
Again, I think one thing that's important to point out is like when we do Spark and Canva next week with Chris, you're going to see some similar elements to what we're seeing in Infogram, and the whole
Canva especially.
Yeah, the whole point of Ideal is to get exposed to a wide range of tools and then start experimenting on your own and see what works best for you.
If I could for a sec, the main benefit of Infogram is that you can start out with spreadsheets, right? You start out with data that you can either hand enter, as Frank was saying, or you can draw in from an Excel sheet or an XLS sheet or a Google sheet or whatever. And then that data will drive it. And if you link it to those and then you update the data within your Google Drive, you can then simply refresh it and the data will be updated automatically within your data visualization. And so the goal here is to create sort of a visual representation of your quantitative data in a way that's visually attractive and interactive, which the other graphics tools don't do. The other graphics tools allow you to create graphics from scratch or use templates, but it is not data driven, whereas this is.
Yeah, well, like right here, like this graph here, yeah, I could have uploaded the data. I didn't need to. There were very few data points, but I like that it's just very convenient that anyone can get in here, and if a student, only had a few data points to document, then they could just do this very easily. Yeah, you can upload the file right here. That's right. So I could take an Excel file and upload it right there as well. But this is all for visually enhancing these types of materials. I mean, if you want, you could all try and just do something real. If you wanted to, you could try and do something real quickly, and I could have you can just put it right here and see how easy, like for instance, on something like Padlet, see how easy it is to share material there if you'd like. Yeah, I could put this in. I'll put this in the I'll put it in the chat. And if you want to try and put something in there, you can go ahead and put it on this tablet. It's just one way for students, classes, for professors to share work or create something, visually stimulating for whatever learning objective you have in mind. Yeah, weekly cookie sales. Who's doing that? Oh, Chris.
Well, I think it's useful that because students see so many of these infographics that, in some ways this is a 21st century skill and that they might be called upon to create one in a future position, but also that they understand how they're put together so that they can better analyze the data they're being presented with.
Oh, this is something that I had them, someone did this. This is 2 years ago. I'm not exactly sure what happened here. Oh, I had some purpose.
So Frank, there was a question about the privacy, and I saw when you were posting it, there was a public and a private option with the free option.
No, with the free, it's just public.
Okay.
I mean, if there's something real that you want to keep private, then I wouldn't do it on Infogram, but like the kind of material I'm creating, I wouldn't have any interest in keeping it private.
I thought though that there was a choice that only the people who had the link could see it.
Well,
Not on Padlet, on Infogram.
I think so. Let me see here. Yeah, I know.
Oh,
There's
private
no.
is an upgrade. Okay.
Yeah, private's an upgrade. Yeah. I mean, I think most of the stuff you do on here, you want to share. And I mean, but if there's something you don't want to share or have seen public, then I guess I wouldn't do it on the free version of Infogram.
Frank, are other people's projects searchable? I mean, can you find other projects that other people have done?
An infogram?
Yeah, I mean, if it's public, how
Yeah.
can you just search
You could
for?
probably stumble across them. I know they have ones in here that are, if you go back to the home page, let's see that. Favorites. Um, well, I mean, it's all public, so yeah, I'm pretty sure you could stumble across it. I don't have a, I mean, I would imagine, yeah. I mean, I would imagine it is, since everything is public. You could probably find it. I mean, I just wouldn't know what keywords to type into Google or DuckDuckGo to stumble upon an infogram product in particular. But I would imagine you could. I wouldn't imagine you could. I would say, yeah, it's all public. All right, so let's see, is there anything else in here? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, Padlet is just, it's not a tool you have to use, but sometimes it can be a fun way to, people could put anything in Padlet. It's just, since we're creating visual materials, I thought it would be a good place to post things. Yeah, there we go, Sharon. Yep. Anything else?
So this is pretty nice, Frank. When I did infographics last spring for my course, I let the students pick out their own programs. I sort of gave them a list of possible options. And this is actually a lot better than most of the ones they used.
I mean, I don't work with it a lot. If I wish I were, I mean, you guys wanted it, and that's the reason that I'm trying to do something on Infogram. But yeah, I feel that it's powerful. It's one of the first programs that I learned about in creating infographics. I think I picked up on it from the Summer Institute on Digital Literacy a few years ago. Yes, searching the public ones. I think if you go, let's see, it keeps taking me back to my area. These are just mine.
So Frank, I just did a Google search for Frank Cohen on Instagram, and I didn't Infogram, sorry. I did not get a lot of really good hits on it. So even though,
well, I just created them. I mean, Google, you sort of, I mean.
Okay, so you think they haven't been in there long enough?
Well, the algorithm's not going to favor anything that I've just did in the last day. But I'm sure if, I don't know, did you try just searching for some infograms?
Well, because the one that had been in there the longest was the Frank Cohen Super Teacher, so I was thinking that one might come up.
Oh. Yeah, well, probably didn't get, I don't know, there's not a lot of attention being paid to me, I guess, or.
Well, so I guess this brings up sort of a difference between being public and how deeply crawled this is. I mean, public means that you can share the URL with anybody and
Oh, I can
anybody
share
can
this
get
with
into it.
anybody.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Infograms is crawled this deeply by different search engines. So there's a difference between public and searchable is what I'm saying.
I don't know, Leslie, there's probably so many in there. Maybe there are some that you stumble upon. I mean, it would be, it'd be a very random exercise to just try it. I'm sure there are some infograms that are very visible. It just depends on who's posting them and how many clicks they've received in the past, and
And where
also
they're posting it, yeah.
whether they're advertised. I mean, I'm not really trying to share any of these materials. But I mean, I'm sure if we tried to find some, I'm sure we could. But it's a public. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, I've created a lot of Microsoft Sways, for example. Those are public, but they're not going to rise very high in the Google results. It's sort of hard, to come up in Google results. But it is public.
All right, so it sounds like we might be ready to wrap up for today. Again, I would just urge you to pop into your Infogram account that you created and to start playing around with it. And then next week, Chris will show us some things about Spark and Canva. And again, there will be some similarities. And you'll see as you get exposed to these tools, the strengths and weaknesses of the different tools. And again, it's all up to you how you want to use them, how you want to incorporate them in your class presentations, or if you want your students to experiment with these tools for assignments in your courses. So again, please don't feel like you're expected to become an expert on any of these. We're just exposing them to you, and you explore on your own, follow up with us for more information, and then maybe choose one or two that you might think will improve your pedagogy. So that's sort of the idea behind this.
Yeah, I would play around with it a bit. I mean, there's a lot of, as you can see, there's a ton of possibilities in there. It is, I mean, it's almost endless.
Yeah, it's easy to get overwhelmed in Ideal with all these tools that we're throwing at you, and I realize that's a possibility. But again, and especially since it's such a big cohort, we want to show you a bunch of different things, and then you just choose on your own which you think you want to pursue.
All righty.
Okay, well, I think I will end the meeting then, and we shall see you next week.
All right, good seeing everyone. Thanks for the assist,
Thanks, Frank.
Chris.
Thanks, Frank, for your presentation.
Sure.
Thanks, Frank.
All right, have a good
Thanks,
weekend. all.
Frank.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.